All right, we're inside 30 hours to the first round of the NFL Draft. It's time to have some fun. Chris Hassel, Amanda Guerra, Bryant McFadden, Danny Kanell, Douzable with us. All three of these guys are going to bring a little something different to the table. you're going to start things off with Douz's Dawgs.
Love it. You know, it's interesting, right? Because usually we break down 4 or 5 guys, but because we're so deep up here, I only got 2 guys this year. I'm going to talk 2 of my favorite players. First guy, Douzable. This is my favorite player in this draft. And you talk about Douz's Dawgs. You want to know what makes him a dog? He's not only a dog physically, he's a dog mentally, the way he prepares for the game. DK, B-Mac, he played like 4 different positions on defense. This is the most versatile defensive player in this draft. And I'm talking about how physical he is. There's not a corner in this draft that's more physical at the catch point. Look at him drive on the ball. Right there, I just talked about it. At the catch point, he attacks the receiver's hands and knocks the ball out of their hands. So he is my favorite player in this draft. He's one of Douz's Dawgs. This next guy, Walter Nolan, epitomizes what Douz's Dawgs is. A guy that's disruptive in the backfield. A guy that has twitchiness out of his stance. He's a disruptor. And a lot of people talk about Mason Graham being the #1 D tackle. Well, guys, it's not that far off that Walter Nolan is right behind him. To me, he's going to end up having a better career than Mason Graham. The way he's been able to get in the backfield, be disruptive, give you that interior pressure. Walter Nolan is another guy that's probably going to go in the top 12 and is going to be a disruptor on defense.
The only thing I've heard about Walter Nolan, some people are a little worried about those maturity issues, kind of walking off the field at practice.
Well, he's a dog.
That was the one scout that said that, and everybody took it and ran with it, talked to this guy at the Combine and at the Senior Bowl. Didn't have any issues with him. This is a guy, again, that's going to be the pinnacle of your defensive front in that interior D-line.
You guys agree
I
with
love the respect from Douz. His first player played in the secondary.
You don't see many dogs in the secondary.
Oh, we got a few. Roof.
Douzable is one of them.
Roof.
Yeah.
I love his versatility. And, I love defensive players that are violent. You cannot play the game of football and be successful, especially on the defensive side, if you live soft.
Correct.
You can't live soft and fight hard. And Douzable is the definition of being a hard worker that plays with the right mentality. And he's going to have a great NFL career, especially going into the right situation.
Totally agree, too. Walter Nolan, too. I mean, talking about immaturity issues. Weren't we all a little immature coming out of college?
Correct.
I never walked off the field.
Danny, you still
Did you ever grow out of that, though?
Are we ready for
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Danny's
Bring it
reaching
out,
for
bring it out.
something.
Been waiting for this
He's got
moment.
his tongue
I had to get tuned in. There were some clouds in the sky today. It looked a little bit suspect. I don't know about those chemtrails. I mean, the moon, we haven't been back since they landed there. I'll go into those conspiracies another time.
Oh my
but I have some conspiracies as it relates to this year's NFL draft.
hear it.
You know, the latest
Well,
one.
there you go. Why are we seeing the graphic?
There you
We
go.
need to
Make
see
sure I'm
Danny.
tuned in. I got everything dialed up. All right. So we saw the other day there was a anonymous, I'm using air quotes, anonymous NFL coach that was ripping Shedeur Sanders. Said he doesn't think he's that good of a player. Said he didn't like his meetings. That's kind of been a lot of people have heard about these rumors. Everyone wants to know who was it. I know who it was. It was Mike Tomlin. He's the guy providing a lot of this fodder that
B-Mac's
people are
former
running
coach?
with. You know why?
Why?
Because he wants him to fall to 21 right into his lap so that he can be the last man laughing when it's all said and done. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, who does own one of these hats as well for his conspiracy theories, you cannot rely on him making a decision whether he's going to be your quarterback or not. No. I think there's more likely chance that he retires and calls it a day, which means you are in desperate need. You're not going to roll out Mason Rudolph out there at quarterback. So Mike Tomlin is the guy floating all this negativity around Shedeur, so he gets to embrace him. And then guess what else? He looks like the hero. Everyone else didn't believe in you. I believed in you, gave you the shot.
So wait, let me ask you this, because we had Jonathan Jones on earlier who said he has also heard there are now smoke screens in front of Mike Tomlin because of this.
In the words of Mike Tomlin, I will not entertain elevator music. In the words of Mike Tomlin. But I can say this, when you look at the history of the draft associated with the Pittsburgh Steelers, name me another organization that have had good fortune with players just falling into their lap. Most recently,
Eagles.
Joey Porter Jr.
Yep.
Remember, he was supposed to be a first rounder. Many people felt that Pittsburgh would take a flyer on Joey Porter in the first round. They did not. Guess who was available for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second round? Joey Porter Jr., and that relationship has worked out mightily so far. So if this was to happen, I don't think it's more about the smoke screens that are coming from Mike Tomlin. I think it's more about the good fortune and the football guys just blessing one of the best organizations in our land.
Do you think they could potentially pass on Shedeur if he does land at 21?
Ooh, no.
Bet not.
They can't.
Because I've talked to a lot of people. I know you know Max Starks really well. He feels like there's a plan in place to attack the quarterback position next year. Let's not forget, they don't have a second-round pick because they traded for DK Metcalf. So if there's a player that they really love on their board that falls to 21, say defensive tackle, which is a major need for the Pittsburgh Steelers, do they weigh that with where Shedeur is on their board? If say Shedeur is like player 35 and that D tackle is player 15 and he falls to 21, do they go get the D tackle knowing that they don't really have the draft capital to move up to get Shedeur Sanders?
What's the common storyline associated with the Pittsburgh Steelers? The inability to be in a position to get the young quarterback of the future.
Okay.
If he falls to you at 21, coming into the draft, the pre-draft process, we all felt like he was a top 10 pick. For whatever reason he's fallen, you take him. You cannot continue to put a Band-Aid on the injury where you require surgery. Stop doing that. Find a way to go get the quarterback of the future.
This would be my only pushback on that, B-Mac. There was a scenario where they took Kenny Pickett and they probably shouldn't have. They even traded up to get him because he was falling in the draft. Is this a scenario where, again, you know how teams are, they like to stick to their board, right? If they have a guy, again, that's in a top 15 position that falls to 21, and yet Shedeur's like 35, do they feel like we don't want to make the same mistake again by taking the guy that was lower on our draft board and trading up to get him, or even going to get him at 21 when the value isn't truly there?
My response to that, and you can talk about this better than any one of us, Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett was when he came out of Pittsburgh.
I would agree with that.
It's not even a comparison.
I think whoever ends up playing quarterback for the Steelers next year is going to have the best of the rookies, if it is indeed a rookie. I think they're going to have the best supporting cast around them. This is where the knowledge comes from, though. All right, on to my next conspiracy theory. So, have you guys heard about this rumor of the steam that the Chicago Bears potentially making a move up for Ashton Jeanty, possibly in the top 3 or 4? Do you know who started that rumor? That was me, because I was able to get those sources to tell me exactly what the Chicago Bears were going to do, because it's fairly obvious what is taking place. Ben Johnson was with Dan Campbell in Detroit. What type of offense did they run? Two-back system. But Ashton Jeanty is as good as maybe those two backs combined with the type of career that he had out of Boise State. But they've already kind of given away their game plan by shoring up the offensive line this offseason. I think they're going to increase the ability to run the football, play a physical mindset, and what better way to do that than get the top running back in the class? That's what Ben Johnson's doing. I started the rumor. You watch it happen, and then you can thank me later.
I hope we have taken so many screenshots of you in that hat here. You can keep it on, though. We're going to go to BMAC here. We've got best fits from BMAC. You're not going with the Steelers. Instead, you're looking at the Falcons and a defensive lineman. BMAC, who do you like?
Best fit for Atlanta, shoring up the defensive side, the front, finding a way to put consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Mike Green is the best fit for the Atlanta Falcons, and here's why. 17 sacks in 2024. He's arguably the second best pass rusher in this game behind Abdul Carter. This is a significant need for the Atlanta Falcons. The last time they had an individual with double-digit sacks was 2016, Vic Beasley. He had 16. The #1 song on the Billboard charts, Justin Bieber, Lose Yourself. Love Yourself, I'm sorry. That was the #1 song. Lose Yourself, Love Yourself. That was the #1 song. And then you look at most recently, you see that on your graphic. I mean, they haven't had a player that had at least 7 sacks since 2019. We're in 2025, getting ready to be involved in the 2025 NFL season. So that has been an area of concern for the Atlanta Falcons, and they have been consistently bad in terms of putting pressure and sacking quarterbacks. And if you can't put pressure or sack quarterbacks in the National Football League, you will not win ball games, and clearly they haven't won a lot of ball games. Mike Green for the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, you have one more fit. It is a running back. It's not Ashton Jeanty. Is there a world where Omarion Hampton is a better NFL running back than Ashton Jeanty, and why do you love him with the Broncos?
I think so, because his skill set is very, very unique. He's a plug-and-play player immediately. I love his burst, and his contact balance is outstanding. And the best fit for Omarion Hampton is the Denver Broncos. This is why this makes sense. They have a young quarterback. They brought in Evan Ingram, so they shored up the tight end position that was a liability a year ago. And now just shoring up the backfield would be huge for their development, especially with a young quarterback. You talk about the inability to run the football. The last time the Denver Broncos had a 1,000-yard rusher, that was 2019. It's been a long, long time. So if you're Sean Payton, when you look at his glory days, being able to call plays. He's always relied on a really, really durable, consistent, good back.
Yep.
Omarion Hampton is that guy. And if he was not in the same draft as Ashton Genty, he would be RB1 in terms of coming off the board because of his skill set.
Well, and the good thing for the Broncos is even though they've talked about potentially moving up, he may be there
At
when they
20.
go on the clock at 20, which is good for them.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure in Delray Beach last night there was a Bigfoot sighting, so I'm going to go check that out later tonight.
I live in Delray as well. There wasn't a Bigfoot. There was a snake sighting outside my house, though. Danny saw the same one down by the beach earlier in the day. Not going home. Coming up, we've got a very special first of its kind.